Take a look at the YouTube headquarters here. This is part of a big office complex you can see here on the map. It's located in San Bruno. This is along Cherry Avenue. We're going to take you out live now to Chopper 5. You can see
it's still a very large police presence. Investigators there in the intersection. We've had response from San Bruno Police, County Sheriff, ATF, and the FBI as they continue their investigation.
From Chopper 5 here, you see the workers filtering out of the buildings. As you can imagine, tense moments there for dozens of employees, hundreds of employees rather, who heard these shots ring out around lunchtime. Again, like we were just saying, those phone calls were placed around 12:44, 12:45, and the police there on the scene around 12:48. In the meantime, we have had our team of reporters on the scene. They were there just minutes after those shots were fired. And we'd like to begin this evening with KPIX 5's Andria Borba. Andria, what's the latest?
Well, we just wrapped up this press conference with the chief of police here in San Bruno, as well as the head of communications for YouTube. They're clarifying a little information. We now know that there were 4 people injured in this incident. 3 of those people suffered from gunshot wounds. The 4th injured an ankle while fleeing those gunshots. And we're also told that the shooter, a female, took her own life. Now, the initial call came in at 12:46 p.m. We have some video for you. San Bruno PD was on the scene 2 minutes later, and they found those 4 injured people. The shooting is thought to have happened near the cafeteria at lunchtime. Many YouTubers were still at their desk and did not know what had happened.
I was programming when the fire alarm was pulled. I went outside with my electric skateboard, and as I started skating down because I thought it was a fire, I heard some yelling, and I saw somebody down on his back with a red spot on his stomach.
Now, even those who are in that outdoor patio initially thought that the pops were not gunfire, but balloons. But once they realized what was happening, they fled, only to see their coworkers still trapped outside.
After we went in and people were going through, I went up to the first floor, and then when I was going in, I held the door for a few people, but then, when I let go of the door and I went in, I saw there were still a couple of people crouched behind tables. So I went to go look to see if, they were still outside. And then that's when I saw someone in front of the doors lying on the ground.
Now, after that point, those YouTubers were patted down by police forces here in San Bruno. We're talking about San Bruno Police, ATF, Daly City, FBI. We saw Homeland Security coming down 101 South, lights and sirens going. We're told by the police chief that the investigation, they have cleared the building at this point. There is no second shooter. There is no danger to the community. But processing this scene will take hours. They expect to be out here all night long. Veronica Allen.
Andria, I have a question for you. I know that the shooting took place out on the patio, and there have been reports that workers may have been celebrating some type of a party, maybe a birthday party.
We have not heard that out here on the scene at this point, but I have been kept quite some distance from the scene at YouTube itself. I'm at the corner of Bay Hill and Traeger on the west side of the campus, closer to Highway 101. So we are still trying to gather information. It's been very tough. We've only gotten a few YouTubers who have been escorted out by police, many of them very reticent to talk, Veronica.
Yeah, Andrea, we did hear the police chief say that the shooter used a handgun. We missed the very beginning of the press conference. Did he at all speak as to how she was able to get that handgun onto the campus and into the building?
That was not addressed at this point, but what we do know is that the YouTubers, many of them have badges, as you see all throughout Silicon Valley and many corporations in the U.S. now, badges to get in and out of buildings. But those buildings do not, in fact, have metal detectors. So we don't know if this person had a badge, if they went into the building, or if they just went to this outdoor area. There are still many questions at this point, Alan, that need to be answered, and we won't get those for at least several hours at this point.
Absolutely. All right, Andria Borba live at the scene. Thanks.
Let's go ahead and take you now live to KPIX 5's Joe Vazquez. He spoke with frightened workers who fled as soon as they possibly could. Joe?
Right. This incident did not just affect workers at YouTube. There are a lot of neighboring businesses here. You can see behind me the scene here where, police officers, federal agents, there's an ATF agent right there. It is still swarming with law enforcement here. But, like I mentioned, there are a lot of neighboring businesses. Some of the nearby businesses were actually affected in the way that YouTube was, in that they were told they had to lock down as well. And that meant, in some cases, Employees had to go upstairs, move to other floors, had to hide from, a possible shooter coming into their building. So, and then other stores, like here in the Bay Hill Shopping Center right next door here, these folks were affected as well because they saw some of the evacuees coming here, and in one case, a shooting victim who several people ended up treating.
Me and my friend were just eating lunch, and we heard a couple gunshots. And so I stood up, looked outside the window. I see everyone running out of the YouTube building. I open the door from the inside and tell everyone to get inside, and in runs this lady who got shot in the leg.
I saw the lady that got shot, and she got shot in the calf. She had some friends with her that also maybe got wounded also, and they took her into Carl's Jr., where they put her on the table, and we were trying to fix her wound, So I tried to find something, to help the victim, and I got a bungee cord. I tied it above her leg to stop the bleeding. It wasn't bleeding too bad or anything like that. And then after that, the ambulance came maybe 10 minutes after, and they picked her up in a stretcher.
And I seen the victim coming out, was hobbling with the leg, and
Victim was coming out of where?
out of YouTube.
Okay.
And we dragged her, put her over there. We brought her into the Carl's Jr., put her in there to the side door, took care of her. Then me and the other guy, we went back over there. We stayed low. We went back up towards the YouTube, into the building, to the gate, got to the gate. And there was a lady, she had just gotten shot. Her legs, her hands flew up 2 times like this, went down, and she was dead. I knew she was dead.
So YouTube, it's not just one building, it's a complex as we've been hearing it described, and so that means there are several buildings that make up YouTube headquarters, but they evacuated pretty much every building in YouTube. And I spoke to one man who didn't want to talk on camera, but he actually told me that in his building, they told everybody to go up to the 3rd floor. He said, I'm not doing that. He had just bought his lunch, he said, and he's obviously there's a little humor going on here because they're trying to deal with a very awful situation. But he said, I had just gotten my lunch. I'm not going to go upstairs with everybody else and be cornered in a room and possibly become a target. So he just essentially ignored his orders, marched out the door, and got as far away from the scene as he could at the time. So, basically a lot of people here dealing with what they thought could be the end for them. Nobody knows if the shooter's going to come in their building, if they're going to come in their workspace. And so, you guys, it was a scene of chaos for quite some time here until the police finally gave the all clear. Some folks were led into adjacent buildings to where these shootings went down.
Well, Joe, you had mentioned that police had given the all clear, and you'd also mentioned that this is a pretty large area comprised of office complexes. You mentioned a fast food restaurant, also the Bay Hill Shopping Center. Can you give us a lay of the land and let us know how large of an area has been cordoned off? Are we talking blocks? Are we talking miles?
Right, so first of all, you can see behind me, this is the area that is cordoned off, and this is a long cherry, and it looks to be about 2 or 3 blocks here that is, right now, it's got yellow tape all the way around it. But in the back of some of these buildings and the parking lots, those are open and employees are able to leave that way. A lot of folks were let back in to get their stuff, and then were told they could go ahead and go home. Now, if you look over here to the left, this would be the Bay Hill Shopping Center, and it is just to the south and southwest of the campus. And this is where you will see, it's a shopping center. You got a CVS, Molly Stone, several fast food joints right here in the middle of San Bruno. And this is where some of the folks just came running, or some came even more orderly than that. But, you saw that one shooting victim. By the way, they said she looks like she's going to be okay. She was not panicked. She did not appear to be in shock. Looks like she's going to be fine, thanks to the quick action of some folks who just happened to be standing by, and in one case serving lunch, and in another case, this guy was just here to eat his lunch.
Joe, just quickly, we heard the one employee talk about the fire alarm going off. Now, we know the police, they do practice first responder drills, active shooter. Schools do now. Has anybody there said that they practice for anything like an active shooter drill?
As a matter of fact, just a few years ago, I participated and covered a story right here in San Bruno with several police agencies in San Mateo County, We went to a school on a Saturday. They brought in volunteers to practice what would happen if a shooter comes into school, and it is shocking even in practice, I can tell you that, Alan. But these folks out here, I know firsthand, were well prepared for the events of today.
Yeah, and that's what the police chief was saying. All right, Joe Vazquez, we appreciate your reporting. Thank you.
KPIX 5's Mary Lee continuing our team coverage. She spoke to a YouTube employee who says that she saw the shooter. Mary?
Veronica and Alan, the YouTube employee we spoke to, is still in shock. She described what the shooter looked like and how she was shooting in the patio today.
She was doing this. That's what she was doing. And she looked like she was in like her 30s or something. I couldn't really make out kind of exactly, you know, she had something on her face, like glasses and a scarf.
Diana Arnsberger is a YouTube employee who saw the shooter firsthand. She works on the second floor of the building and had just returned back from lunch when she heard gunshots.
We heard like boom, boom, you know, and everybody kind of looked up and didn't know what it was. And I ran to the window because the window behind me looks over the patio, and I saw her. And it was a woman, and she was firing her gun. And I just said, shoot her, and everybody started running.
Diana says she is incredibly grateful to be safe and alive, and we will hear more from her at 6. Veronica and Alan?
All right, Mary Lee, thanks so much.
Now, the 3 victims were transported to San Francisco General Hospital. KPIX 5's Wilson Walker joins us now live, and he has an update for us. Wilson, what can you tell us about these patients that were transported?
Well, we've been hearing those kind of harrowing stories out of San Bruno and what happened at around 12:45. Well, the first ambulances arrived here just before 1:30.
What happens is whenever these mass casualty situations happen, we get ready for as many as we have to take care of. That's kind of what we do.
Alerted within moments of the shooting in San Bruno, San Francisco General was waiting and on lockdown when 3 ambulances arrived.
And we have a 36-year-old male who is in critical condition. The females are ages 32. That patient is in serious condition. We have a 27-year-old female in fair condition.
And that is about all the hospital is saying. 3 victims, all with what are described as multiple injuries from gunshots. All 3 are said to be awake and alert, but the attending surgeon here warns that gunshot conditions can change quickly.
Now, when things change, they change from moment to moment. So right now, we've stabilized the condition, and that's basically our best guess right now.
Now, that critically injured male patient, again, sources tell us that is believed to be the boyfriend of the shooter. Now, as far as any other update on the conditions of the 3 individuals here, we are told that will come tomorrow morning. Live at SF General, Wilson Walker, KPIX 5.
All right, Wilson, thank you. A short time ago, the head of communications for YouTube had this to say.
We are an incredibly tight-knit community within YouTube, where it feels like a family. Today, it feels like the entire community of YouTube and all of the employees were victims of this crime. Our hearts go out to those who suffered in this particular attack, and our prayers are with them and their families.
This afternoon, President Trump tweeted, quote, was just briefed on the shooting at YouTube's headquarters in San Bruno, California. Our thoughts and prayers are with everybody involved. Thank you to our phenomenal law enforcement officers and first responders that are currently on the scene. Senator Dianne Feinstein took to Twitter to express her sadness about the shooting, saying this, quote, my stomach sinks with yet another active shooter alert. I'm praying for the safety of everyone at YouTube headquarters. The Google CEO sent this note to employees worldwide, saying this, quote, I know a lot of you are in shock right now. Over the coming days, we will continue to provide support to help everyone in our Google family heal from this unimaginable tragedy.